Today there's been a lot of discussion around the Muslim community in Britain's role in combating extremism. But what about the role of police and security services? A number of British Muslims have managed to join terrorist groups despite being very much on their radar. Some have even fled the UK whilst on bail, having been arrested. One of those was Abu Rahin Aziz from Luton. Here's a clip of him preaching whilst he was still in the UK.
My dear brothers, we want to see the whole of Islam dominant over every single country there is. To see the flag of Islam on top of the White House in America. To see the flag of Islam in Downing Street in the UK.
Well, he's now revealed himself to be in Syria with ISIS and has been talking to our reporter Secunda Kermani, who joins me now in the studio. So how did that happen?
Well, Abu Rahin Aziz, he calls himself Abu Abdullah al-Brittani as well. He's a 32-year-old man from Luton. He was a well-known figure in the UK radical scene. He was a close associate of Anjem Choudhury's. He attended, for example, the poppy burning protest that we saw a few years ago. And last May, he was arrested and then charged for his role in a violent assault on a man in central London whilst he was preaching there with some friends. And despite being on bail for that offence at the time, he managed to book tickets to go to Amsterdam from Luton. From Amsterdam, he then went on to Turkey to Syria, and apparently joined ISIS. And I've been speaking to him. He's in fact sent me some pictures from his time in ISIS. You should be able to see now pictures of him posing with weapons. And he told me that he had joined ISIS because he wanted to fight against the forces of Bashar al-Assad, who he said were oppressing people, and because he wanted to restore the caliphate. But he also told me that he'd been fighting against moderate Syrian rebels who themselves are fighting against Assad. And on social media in recent days, he's praised the attacks on the Charlie Hebdo magazine and called for further attacks in the UK.
If that wasn't so serious, it would sound comical. This is hugely embarrassing, isn't it, for the UK?
Well, yes, that's right. I spoke to the police tonight, and they said that responsibility for ensuring someone doesn't breach their bail conditions doesn't just lie with them, and wouldn't really elaborate any further. But Abu Abdullah told me that in the past, when leaving the UK and flying out from Britain, he'd been stopped around 8 times by counter-terrorism officials under the Terrorism Act and questioned. And this time, despite being on bail, and when, of course, his ultimate destination was Syria and ISIS, no one detained him, no one questioned him. And he's not the first, or he's not the only person to have breached bail conditions and gone to Syria and joined ISIS. One of his close friends, a man who calls himself Abu Rumaisa, who is also another associate of Anjem Choudhury, last November he was arrested under the Terrorism Act. He skipped bail and too joined ISIS. And I spoke to Abu Abdullah, and he said that the two of them had in fact reunited in Syria. They were living together for a while. And he said that, in his words, they were chilling together and laughing at the British security services. I think these episodes just show how difficult it is for the authorities to keep tabs on people, even when they're very much on their radar.
Secunda, thanks. Thank you.